Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Oops, sorry. You'll see it, right? Okay, maybe. Okay, so yeah, as you know, the topic of the today webinar is handling the COVID crisis better together. So the COVID crisis has been around for more than 4 months already. Each country was affected in one way or another, and the whole flexible office and co-working business was also highly affected. That was the reason why I decided to start this webinar. I did quite an extensive research on different topics related to COVID crisis and the industry, and I'll share my thoughts with you, and I'll be happy to hear back from you as well. Before diving into the topic though, I would like to present myself and my colleague. So my name is Miryana Stancheva. I'm originally from Bulgaria. I'm a customer success and onboarding specialist in OfficeRnD. And for the last 7 years, I've been actively involved in the whole co-working movement. I dedicated my PhD research on that. And I worked for different co-working spaces as a growth and community manager around Europe. So I have some experience in the co-working industry. And my colleague Miryana, she's also customer success and onboarding specialist, but I'll just give the word to her to present herself. Billy?
Thanks, Mira. Hi, everyone. Welcome on board, and thanks for joining us today. I really hope that this webinar is going to be useful for you, and you're going to walk out today from here with some new insights and thoughts on the current situation. My name is Miryana, as Mira already mentioned. I'm also a customer success and onboarding representative. My background comes from the startup scene. I've been involved with several startups in the last year. Lastly, I was based in Estonia, Tallinn, helping small startups to grow their business. My passion for co-working spaces actually started there as I was working in a space called Lift 99. So yeah, co-working, we're trying every day to make the co-working the way of working. So again, today I'll be helping Mira with answering your questions. We will try to cover the most important things and your concerns related to the current situation. In case there are questions that we cannot cover in the Q&A section, do not worry, we're going to get back to you via email. We would have all of the questions recorded, so we would make sure that none of them stays unanswered. That was from me. Again, I'll try the best to answer most of your questions. I'm giving back the floor to Mira, and I hope you enjoy this COVID-19 journey with us.
Thanks, Billy. Yeah, as she said, there will be a Q&A section in the end, which will be around 15 minutes. The webinar has 3 main parts, and after each part, there will be 1 or 2 minutes to answer 1 or 2 questions, so we can keep it a bit more interactive. Again, keep in mind that all your microphones and cameras are switched off by default through the Zoom tool. And yeah, just to mention it now, keep in mind that there will be also a short survey at the end of the webinar just to collect feedback. We will really appreciate if you share your thoughts, because we want to provide a better content next time. So yeah, thank you. And moving forward, so the first part of the webinar today is focused on the way COVID-19 influences our lives and what challenges is raising in front of us. While I was doing the research about this webinar, I realized that many of the articles and the information that is out there is focused only on the financial part of the situation, but I believe that it is needed to have a more kind of a holistic approach towards what's going on in our lives on a daily basis. That's why I focused on the different levels that the COVID-19 crisis influences us. On one hand, this is the individual or the personal level. This definitely brings worries about our personal health, about our friends' health, and about our families. This is something that is not happening every day. We also change the way we work and live. All our routines are totally different than what we were used to. We are facing a high level of stress and uncertainty that we are not used to live with. Together with that, we get information from the news constantly. There is a huge pool of information about the national and international restrictions that are initiated. There is a huge lack of clarity. There is no much projection going on, so we really don't know what will happen. There are only suggestions and guesses, but it's very hard to project. All this affecting our individual life is also affecting the way we are communicating with our teams, and it's affecting the whole organizational dynamics, which could be in every business. But now, as we talk about co-working and flex space operators, the COVID crisis is influencing your team. There is uncertainty that is raising amongst your teammates. Some of them are probably worried that they might lose their jobs as your space is closed, for instance. The whole team dynamics has been changed since the beginning of the crisis. Most of the day-to-day operations and functions are changed or currently are not happening at all. So this can bring a sense of losing purpose and direction. So these are organizational changes, and that sometimes can be a bit invisible, but it's crucial for you as a manager to be aware of that and to be prepared to face these dynamics that are going on while your space is closed or partially operational. But I bet that most of your team members are either working from home, either they work on reduced hours or on rotation basis. So all this is constantly changing and is also causing a lot of stress on organizational level. Together with that, of course, the crisis has a huge influence on a financial or business level. The expenses seem to be the same, but at the same time, the membership revenue and the events revenue is dropping down drastically. You still have to pay the rent, because most of you probably don't own the premises but are renting them. Also, you have to pay the salaries, and that's another challenge. So facing the situation of closing your space and having all these expenses put together and a lower revenue, it's really a huge challenge. And I will touch base on ways to face that later in the presentation. And summing up all these challenges on individual level, on organizational level, on financial level, all these together influences, of course, your community and your tenants, and they all are interconnected. That was my idea, to bring all these aspects of our lives and businesses together so we can understand better their interconnection and how they can influence one another. So when we talk about community or tenants, we should be aware that our tenants' businesses, very often I say ours because I spend quite a lot of time working for co-working spaces, so very often I also see myself as a space operator. But what I want to say that the tenants' businesses are also affected and suffer from that. Some of your tenants probably got bankrupted just for a couple of months. Together with that, the sense of community that probably you have been building for ages is now threatened to just disappear again over a couple of months. You as an operator face the challenge to retain your members and also to attract new members. And these are huge challenges and huge questions, which I believe most of you resonate and see many of your cases right now in these lines. And to assure you that you're not alone in this hard journey, I'm sharing with you some data from a recent study conducted by coworker.com, and for instance, 72% of the people who took part in the survey shared that they recorded a decrease in the number of people working from their spaces. Together with that, 41% of the respondents noticed a negative impact on their membership and contract renewals, which again, believe some of you already faced. 37% mentioned that there are membership cancellations. I mean, 37% is definitely not a small number, but together with that is below the 50%, which means that there are still a lot of members that decide to stick around with you and not cancel their memberships. What is a bit worrying is that there are, for instance, 67% of the people say that there is a drop in the number of new membership inquiries, which is actually linked to the challenge I mentioned about attracting new tenants. And of course, something else is the event cancellation. 71% mentioned that they faced events cancellation, and this is a huge topic, which unfortunately I think will be here to stay for quite some time. Yeah, this is very briefly outlining the levels on which the COVID-19 crisis is influencing us and the main challenges that we and you as operators are facing. Before moving forward to the tips that we have prepared for you, if you want to ask one or two questions, Vili, if there are any questions that can be.
Yeah, actually, there's currently a question that I believe is important for everyone. So let's look at it. The question is the following: can you please give us an example on how to pause a member's membership?
Yeah, so you mean a real example of how to do that in OfficeRnD? I guess so. Yeah, so briefly on this topic, there is a way to, if the member wants to leave the space for 3 months, for instance, you can open their membership, you can put an end date, today's date, and you can create a new membership with a starting date 3 months in the future when they committed to be back to the space. In that way, you will keep the information for the client within your system, and once they're back, their access will be automatically activated. So all the invoices and all the information will be there and won't be lost.
Great, let's try to cover one more here. I see that Craig is asking for when was the coworker survey from? What dates was it fielded? I'm not sure which coworker survey. I think that's the coworker survey. Yeah, that me recall.
Yeah, that's coworker.com launched. I have to check exactly the period when the survey was conducted. We'll send you a follow-up email with quite a lot of resources. I'll include the overview of the survey as well there. I guess this will be helpful for everyone to have a look at. I hope this answers the question.
All right, and let's have one last one. I would say, how many? The question comes from. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Yahira. How many spaces are offering discounts and pausing their memberships currently? Maybe just approximately or a rough estimation.
You mean?
I believe that's a general question. What's the trend?
The trend, okay. I think quite a lot of spaces are trying to pause memberships and to retain their members. We'll discuss that further on as well. Of course, there are members that are also canceling their memberships. As I said, your community also suffers from the crisis. So I assume if someone loses their job or if a company is bankrupted, they can't pay their rent anymore, and they will cancel their membership. But also there are spaces that share that their members stick around with them and show solidarity. So it's quite mixed. It's hard to say if there is really a tendency, and I think really it depends on your constant communication and discussion with your members. Okay.
Right.
Good. Then I'll continue with, I hope more, I'm not sure if I can say more optimistic part, but I'd like to share with you some tips and tricks to which I believe will help you handle the situation. Again, linked and interconnected with each level that the COVID-19 crisis is influencing. I'll start again with the individual or the personal level, and just a few ideas that probably most of you heard or you're already doing, but quite important tip while you're working from home. We all face that. I've been 7 to 8 weeks at home already. So it is important to build a new routine. It's nothing like going to work anymore, but still you can have your morning routine. You can dress up like as you're going to work. It's good to keep your working hours the way you kept them before, because it's very easy to prolong your working day until the late evening. I faced that a couple of times, so it's better to have the routine. Also, do the things that calm you down. It's quite important because, as I said, we face a lot of stressful situations and times. So do something that you like and that brings you smile. Could be meditation or a workout or yoga or video game. Anything that can make you shift your attention from the crisis and your business to some inner happiness and peace. And also set a framework while working from home. Speak with your family around or with your flatmates if you're living with flatmates, and set rules when you can be interrupted and when not. On organizational level, when we talk about running your teams, here are a couple of ideas I came up with. While your space is probably closed or partially operational, and some of the responsibilities of your team members are currently cut on half, you can, for instance, delegate new and special responsibilities during the crisis. You can kind of build your task force within your team. You can encourage your team members to research more about the measures that are taken, about any government support available out there to support your business, or about strategies that our spaces in your areas are undertaking. So give the freedom to your team members to do that and collect this information, because you're not a one-man show and it's very hard to cover all the topics. Together with that, it is important to set time for small talks and team discussions. It is important to listen to your team and to give space for brainstorming, because maybe brilliant ideas will come out from there. Because your team members are those who really, they want to keep their jobs and keep the space running. So listen to them. I believe that most of you are already doing it, but I think it is important to highlight it again. Also, have regular work meetings to sync and catch up. Keep the meetings that you had while you were normally operating, keep them online and keep the same routine, because this routine brings some certainty and security in each of your team members. And probably the most challenging one is be transparent and honest, share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Maybe you have to reduce their salaries, And this perhaps will be the hardest conversation you have to lead, but you have to be honest with your team members so they can stay with you and they can support you in this battle. And when you're on the same page with your team, you have your inner soul relaxed, and you have your routine. Now you can effectively focus on the financial and the business level and how you can tackle this problem. An idea is to simulate the best and the worst scenarios based on the research that you and your teammates already did. Plan ahead and set action steps. Having even a vague plan about the worst and best scenarios with the possible steps that you can you have to go through will allow you actually to combine and have the path that probably will be the outcome, something in between the worst and the best scenario. So this will make you more aware of what's coming up next. Another hard topic is to negotiate the rent with your landlord. There is a lot of information about that already online. There are separate webinars dedicated only to this topic. We'll share the resources with you after the webinar. I won't go into that much, but actually your landlord has the same interest to keep you as a tenant as much as you have the interest to stay in the space. So this is a win-win situation, and still it is in your hands to to negotiate that, get a 50% discount rent for 1 or 2 months. Just stress on the fact that this is a win-win situation for both parties. Something that we briefly discussed before the start of the webinar is the expansion plans. Perhaps it's a good idea to postpone your expansion plans right now. If you have enough risk capital, maybe you can take advantage of the current crisis, because perhaps the commercial real estate prices will go down. But I'm not a real estate specialist, so I can't really tell, but still, if you don't have enough risk capital, maybe postpone the expansion. Also, look for ways to cut costs. For instance, if you're partially operational and your members with 24/7 access can come to the space, but you have only 3 or 4 people coming, still you have to cover all the expenses for maintenance the space. Just balance the costs and see if it makes sense to entirely close and cut some costs from cleaning, if this is possible, from Wi-Fi for a couple of months, and a few more things that you can definitely cut within this time. Another idea is to focus on the virtual services for your members. Think of services that you're offering and that can be moved virtual, or offer a virtual service such as virtual office to your members that are still paying their membership but your space is closed. Offer this service for free for a couple of months. Give the opportunity for companies to register their address in your space and have a mailbox. This is kind of a low effort solution which will bring you some additional revenue. And few ideas about repurposing your event and meeting room spaces. As I said, even if we go back to, or when we go back to the so-called normal or new normal, and we have co-working space operating and offices operating, most likely the big private or public events that you used to host in the past won't happen for quite a long time. So think about of ways to repurpose the event spaces. You can use them as co-working areas with desks with lower density. Also, you can repurpose the smaller meeting rooms. You can use them as single desk offices, or again, offices with lower desk density. I believe that after the crisis, the rules about the density per desk will change, and this is something that you should be considering and be aware of. And one last thing is maybe to take the time to review the contracts that you're signing with your tenants and make sure that they are the ones that you want to have in the future, because the contracts you sign also secure revenue and give you some time with the cancellation policies, for instance. And I'll share a couple of tips about how you can tackle the problem with the retention and attraction of new members, of current and new members. So when we talk about retention, I think here we really have to stress on the role of the community manager during the crisis. This is the person who knows best the tenants. They know their pains, they know what's going on with their companies, and so on. So support your community or center manager. Involve more people even from your team to support the community manager so they can keep the communication with your tenants, and talk to your members and hear their pains, because yeah, it's all about communication, and that's the main key to retain them. Also focus on your added values and culture and use them to retain your members, because some of the members are perhaps in your spaces because of the premises, but there are other people that are staying and joined your space because of your unique culture and because of your values. So use that and shout it out loud. Another idea that you can use is to provide discount. You can provide vouchers or rollover options. The discounts, it's an option that many spaces currently use. Again, it's kind of a win-win situation. The way it was with the landlord here is kind of a different side of the coin. But if you provide your member with a discount, they will stay for a month or two, even if your space is closed, and then they will stay with you and they will be back in your space. And you need these people to sustain your community. Together with that, organize online community events. All the events that you had physically in the space, try to bring them online. Also, think about how you can help your community go through the crisis. Perhaps you can organize one-on-one consultations with industry experts, or you can do webinars focused on your community business fields. Or you as a space operator or owner, you can organize discussions with the rest of the CEOs of the companies in your space and just share experience how each of you is dealing with the problem in their own fields. Definitely you'll get some information from there that is valuable. And provide virtual co-working memberships. Virtual co-working, it can be even whole day Zoom meeting and everyone is there and can chat there, but this will help your tenants to connect and to feel less isolated. And this is on the side of the retention, but on the side of the attraction is definitely a big challenge. So as everyone is online, maybe that's the best time to actually boost your social media channels. Use it in all possible ways. You can generate theme posts, but just generate traffic to your website and to your social media channels. If you don't have a blog, maybe it's a good time to start it. You can write about your community or your tenants. You can present them to the external world. On one hand, this will show to the people that you care about the people that are within your space. And on the other hand, maybe you can generate some leads for your tenants as well. As I said, promote your culture. This is your unique selling point, if we can say that way. So yeah, promote it as much as you can. You can initiate different raffles for memberships. You can give a couple of memberships for free in the future and just engage people in this game. As I said, you can offer virtual office services on your website, and yeah, just enable the e-shop on your website and generate traffic in this direction. And last slide and thoughts on the topic about tips and tricks and how to handle this is actually use wise the time while you're closed. You can use this time to renovate part of your space. You can repurpose designated areas. You can provide more individual spaces, maybe phone booths with better air condition or more kind of individual closed areas. You can introduce new contactless technologies. Now with the COVID crisis, you have to cut all these kind of a physical touching to minimum. So it can be from light sensors to key access control with fobs to even toilet flushes that are with sensors, but you don't have to touch the flush. So if you don't have this, maybe now is the time to invest in something like that. Of course, you have to increase the hygienic supplies and also prepare a plan for the future. Rethink your strategy if necessary. Now you have time to look back, to analyze the situation now and to see how you see the future. Maybe you have to recalculate your prices. Again, if the regulations about desk density and space per desk change, maybe the way you have calculated your prices will have to change. If you're calculating per square meter feet or per desk, maybe this maybe you have to rethink it. And also use the time to improve your internal process and to smooth the workflow in your team. Perhaps you have the time to do that, so use it wisely. Yeah, really, that was quite a long one, but I believe there are some questions if you want to share.
Yes, there's a question that's a huge topic and a huge discussion. I believe that we won't be able to fully cover. However, let's try to touch upon it. And the question is from Martin. Thanks for being so active, Martin. The question going forward is what happens if we're still locked down in another 2 months? Well, I believe that in my opinion, this crisis is quite different from all of the others that we have faced in the past, with that we are left in a state of uncertainty. Neither Mira or me or you, Martin, can say how long this lockdown is going to continue, which leaves us with not a lot of space to do any estimations, which could be quite tricky. So I should be very careful here to make any estimations, but I believe that here in OfficeRnD we are quite positive that everything would end as soon as possible.
Sooner than later, yeah, we all hope. But I don't know, in the case your space is closed in another 1 or 2 months, maybe then the focus will shift even more on the virtual services that you can offer. It can be a virtual membership that maybe is half the price of the real desk membership, for instance. But this will give still access to your community, your events that you're organizing, and so on. So it is definitely a struggle to shift this so kind of a offline communication that you have within a physical space, to shift it absolutely online. And we have to be creative. Something that I read the other day was that there are spaces that are renting out their furniture for a while, for the time being, if anyone is needing it. So people come up with creative ideas. I'm not sure that's not the best solution, but that's just another thing that people come up with.
Yeah,
so
actually
go on.
There's a related question here, again came from Martin, which says, how do spaces build greater areas for profitability? And I think the creativity that you mentioned and the different activities that they can do, the virtual services, etc., these are the new ways of shaping the future of the co-working as a whole.
Yeah, but keeping even the creative spirit is hard when you're close at home, no matter what you do. So shifting it into the kind of a digital and online communication, it's hard. Maybe it's worth to talk about with your members and ask them how they see, what are the ways they can imagine to boost their creativity. Maybe if you ask questions to your members, that would be the best way to find a solution to offer them what they need in this unpleasant situation. Okay, Billy, is there any other questions that we can cover, or shall I continue with the OfficeRnD and the features that will help you handle the current situation and shift into the digital communication?
Please do continue to part 3.
Okay, this is the last part, so bear with me. In this part, yeah, I'll focus more on the OfficeRnD features that we've been developing actively in the last couple of months. I believe that most of you are already either actively using OfficeRnD or currently onboarding, or you're considering using maybe OfficeRnD. So I believe this will be helpful for all of you. Of course, I try to cover the way OfficeRnD can serve the two levels that are influenced by the crisis. On one hand, business or financial level, and on the other side, the community and tenants level. This is just a scheme that I'm leaving here. I won't go in detail with each one of them, but I'll just briefly mention a couple of things that you can focus when you use OfficeRnD. You still issue invoices even though you're closed. So as there was a question and discussion about the discounts that you offer, we recently launched a functionality to apply a bulk discount when you do a manual bill run. So instead of doing discount for each individual invoice, you can now do it and apply a discount for all your members if this is the decision that you have made. Or you can apply again a bulk discount, but only to some of the members. You can record refunds in OfficeRnD, and you can have a look at the age debtor, which will give you information about your current balance, because I assume that there are delays in the payments as well in the current situation. So this will help you figure out where you are currently when it's up to payments. Membership, there is an option to not only to pause the membership, but you can also apply discounts on the membership level, which means that you can apply a discount on the membership for a couple of months and then stop the discount. And maybe if the discount will apply for a couple of months, easier to do that instead of applying both discounts on invoices. But this is up to you, really. And because we're talking a lot about virtual services and virtual office in particular, we recently launched a partnership with Sphere Mail, which allows you to manage the virtual office services through OfficeRnD. This, yeah, just if you have questions about how exactly to start it or integrate it, you can reach out to our support team, to your own onboarding representative, or you can drop me a line as well. We'll share more information and resources linked to all these OfficeRnD functions after the webinar. And another part of the business and financial aspect is to know your numbers. I believe that now more than ever, you'll focus on the reports that OfficeRnD provides. On one hand, you can have a look in the invoice revenue report, but something that maybe will be even more helpful for you is the projected revenue report. It is based on the current active and cancelled memberships, so you'll see if you have an increase in the cancellations, you can see the projections in the next month when you have that many cancelled memberships. You can see what type of memberships were cancelled, so you can think how you can work around that, or how you can put efforts into that, or actually focus on a different service and push it more instead of pushing the one that obviously people are canceling at this moment. Also, there are reports which are linked to your occupancy and also to your members and memberships. So take your time to look into these reports. It can be hard to read the numbers sometimes. It's overwhelming. So if you need help or if you need a training on any of the report section, reach out to us. We'll be happy to provide you with such support. And last thing on the business and financial level is actually to manage, you can manage your meeting rooms. As I said, perhaps this won't be a very fruitful revenue in the next couple of months. So maybe you have to consider manage the privacy. Maybe you have to turn all the visibility of the meeting rooms to external members. And it's a good idea to hide it from the public pages and your website, for instance, if it's listed there. You can also manage the availability. You can put different preparation time in between the bookings in case the meeting rooms are available for your members. So you can provide time for the space to be aerated well, which will be also a rule when we go back to normal, and the way we manage our spaces and the hygienic levels we need to keep even more than ever before. And now I'll focus more on the member side and on the community side of what OfficeRnD can offer, because we've been working actively on improving our member-facing services, and this will be perhaps the key for keeping your community with you throughout the crisis. First of all, we revamped the members portal. It looks way more intuitive than it was before. And if you're not using the members portal, maybe now it's time to do that. Or if you haven't seen already the new members portal and the way it looks, there is a preview option in your OfficeRnD account. You can go there, hit the button, preview the portal, and decide whether you want to switch from the old version to the new version. Here are a couple of screenshots how it looks like. For instance, the events part is way nicer. It's way easier to navigate, and this will be crucial for the times when all your events are online. You want your events to be easily visible by your community. Also, we improved our members and community section, and now you can browse and you can look for members and apply different filters. For instance, you can look for particular skills based on the tags that the members are putting. So perhaps you need a lawyer. If you're a member, you need a lawyer to consult you while you're going through the crisis. So this will on its own will foster the interconnection between your community members. And the filter was not there before, so use that. It's really nice feature. Also, the online shop. If you don't use it, maybe now is the time to use it. There you can promote any digital memberships that you decided to come up with and you want to promote. So introduce this online shop and see the reaction of your members. There is another section in the members portal which I believe also should be used actively right now, and this is the benefits or the perks and benefits section. Now you can list there all the services that your members are providing. So if they're giving 10% discount of their services to all your members, maybe this interconnection and support, business support within the community will be pushed a bit, and there will be a positive outcome. But yeah, maybe the most important is ask your members, ask your tenants, speak with them, send them a survey and ask them what they need, how they imagine it, collect ideas from them as well. This will help you to keep them with you. And another thing, another member-facing tool that we launched is our new mobile app. It really looks absolutely different from what it was before. If you don't use the mobile app and haven't seen it so far, just go to the App Store, look for OfficeRnD Connect app and download it, log in with your credentials, and you'll be able to play around and see it. You'll see your space within this app. Again, there is an option to browse for your members, to see upcoming events and benefits, to manage your account and invoices when you're a member, I mean, and see the events, for instance. And maybe even though we put quite a lot of efforts in smoothing the booking process, currently it won't be the part of the app that will be mostly used, but still, if you're open to your members and they still use the meeting rooms, have a look. Really, the process now is very smooth and it's worth checking out. Few more things here. Another tool that will keep you connected with your community is the so-called ticketing system that is usually used for reporting issues or giving feedback. Now, if your space is closed, maybe you can repurpose the ticketing system and change the categories from issue to be a COVID Q&A or something like that. So this will allow you to have the conversation with your tenants and ask and answer relevant questions that you get through there. And last but not least, this is our latest integration that we did. It's video rooms, and it's a built-in page within your members portal. And this allows you to have video rooms for your community. And there are two ways to approach that. You can either use the space recreation approach and create different rooms. For instance, you can have a reception video room, cafe video room, or canteen video room. So you can recreate the spaces where your community, your members meet it in the physical space, and recreate them within these video rooms. So people can join anytime and catch up with anyone who is within this room right now. The other approach is the events recreation approach. So you can have, for instance, a room that is recreating your regular community breakfasts or lunches, or recreating one-on-one sessions with consultants. So we're quite excited about that. Currently is running only on the browser. It is not supported on the mobile app, but we believe this will improve soon. If you want to give it a try, if you want to find out more, or if you want to start it right away, you can contact us, and we'll put you in touch with the right person from our team, so we can have this up and running. And yeah, that's the last slide of the webinar today, because we talked about expectations and thoughts. We talked about the challenges that we face, about the tips and the ideas, how we can handle that, how we can use OfficeRnD. But all of us want actually to have a projection what will come up next and when we will be open. No one of us know, and I believe that unfortunately the COVID-19 will be here to stay, and we will have to learn how to live with it. Also, our ability to be flexible and to adapt as human beings has been challenged and boosted like never before. On the positive side, the crisis has magnified the speed of digitalization enormously throughout the world. Also, big corporations open up to remote work and home office policies, and there is no way back for that. So my assumption is that co-working and flex spaces will be the choice of more companies, employees in the future. And if we manage to bear within this time, definitely there will be a rise and good time for your businesses. Also, the future of work now looks even more independent and self-controlled than it looked before the crisis. And we should be prepared that even the measures, and when the measures got loosened, the way we work as we know it won't be the same. And yeah, I'll finish with kind of our motto here. We are all on a mission to make the flexible working the way of working. So yeah, thank you for joining, and I believe that we'll manage to change the way of working. Thank you. And now it's the Q&A time. Billy?
Sorry, I was just finishing replying to one of the questions. Currently, we have 3 questions, so let's jump straight to them. First one is, can clients short pay an invoice through OfficeRnD?
Could you repeat, sorry?
Sure. Can clients short pay an invoice through OfficeRnD?
I'm not sure what short pay means, sorry.
Edwin, are you here with us?
Maybe if you can...
Maybe you can raise your hand, yeah. Yep, he's here. Not pay fully, he means.
Yeah, actually this option was always there when a client pays less than the due amount. The tag next to the invoice says partially paid. So if the client pays less, there will be a note that the invoice is not fully paid, and he'll be aware of that.
All right. But will the system try to take the full amount on automated billing?
Yeah, so if you have credit card charges or direct debit enabled, or about ACH or SEPA, then the system will try to withdraw the full amount. Yeah. If they're doing bank transfer, then they can transfer less money. But if the invoice is not discounted, for instance, there is no way for the system to know that it has to get less money from their bank account. And if they don't cut the access to their bank account or to their credit card, there is no way to limit
that. Good. Thanks for the question, Edwin. Next one, I'm not sure that we can fully or at all answer that. The question is, are people realistically paying for virtual memberships?
If they are strictly paying.
Are people realistically?
Are realistically paying. Actually, yes. From my personal experience, when I worked in a co-working space, the virtual office part was a revenue stream. Because imagine that you have a small business, even if you are not an active member of the space, but you had your own business, and currently you don't have an office anymore because of the crisis. You have to re-register your company somewhere, and you definitely don't want to register it on your home address. So the only way to do that is to register your company and get a mailbox in a flex office space or a co-working space. And if you need that, yeah, you'll pay, and especially if the space and offer any mail services, as I mentioned, the partnership we launched with Sphere Mail allows you to offer not only the mailbox itself and the address, but allows you to manage the incoming mails of your members and set different memberships. For instance, how many letters per month you'll be processing for this client, and based on that, the price can vary. Are there any?
Yeah. All right. So here's a question. Are there tutorials on how to use OfficeRnD, both for residents and for community managers? So we have a training that is
focused on the roles of the teammates. For instance, we have a training for community managers. So definitely this is something we can have and provide you with. And if you mean tutorial for your members, currently we are working on improving one document that we had, but definitely we need to refresh it. So soon we'll have something that we'll be able to share with you, so you can share it with your members. Just an idea, some operators, for instance, can record a short video navigating through OfficeRnD. Or if you're now introducing OfficeRnD to your community that is entirely online, you can organize a Zoom meeting and share your screen and walk them through the members portal itself and show them the functionalities. I think that would be a very effective way, because you can have many members at once, and you can answer all their questions at once, and it will save you a lot of time.
Okay. So there's one here that's rather long one, so we might get back to that through an email. Are there any other questions?
Thank you. I see some people writing in the chat and are leaving. Thank you very much for everyone who joined. I really appreciate all the attendance. It was amazing. I'm truly honored. Thanks about that. And if you have questions, you know how to reach out to us. Billy, do we have any questions, or you're answering?
Answering to the chat, however, we have one. Give me a second. Well, there's this comment from Tom. Pausing in the way you mention the memberships, he means, really messes with statistics. A button to pause would be much better.
Yeah, thanks for this feedback. This is something that I believe we considered as a feature in the future. I can look into that. I can let you know. You can drop us a line to check if there is anything on the roadmap right now. What we do with such requests, we usually address them to the product team, and they're the ones who are building the priority for each request, and we're trying to launch the ones that we have most clients requesting it.
Any other questions? Well, then I would proceed to read. Just remind me again how to find the new portal. Well, once you go on the Mira, I'm just gonna reply to this one. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Stephen, that's an answer to the question. Once you go to the admins portal and you navigate to settings, apps, then there's this huge message saying that you can preview the new portal that we have and then switch to it. So once you go to settings, apps, you should be able to see this message and preview it first, then switch to it. I hope that that answers it. I'm also gonna put it in a written form.
Yeah, and what we're gonna do is we'll try to cover most of the questions that are unanswered right now. We'll send you links with additional resources. Also check our website. We have a dedicated COVID-19 page where you can find also a lot of resources. Check out regularly our blog posts and everything that is going on at this designated page.
Good. Okay, Mira, then let's answer the one that I said is quite long, as that's the only question left. I will try to read rather slowly so you can hear everything.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay. Will you be implementing a feature for our clients to sign in their visitors electronically through the app rather than on a book? This would be ideal to avoid a large flux of different people touching the same items.
Mm-hmm. So usually when we, for instance, talk about booking meeting rooms and adding visitors, there is an option to add visitors there, and you as an admin can get notified about that, and you can get notified that there are visitors and there are people that are not part of your community presented in your space. Regarding if the app and adding the visitors through the mobile app, I'll have to double check that. I can't really say on the top of my mind right now. But agree, I think what we and you all will strive for the future is to cut any devices that need to be touched in order to check in, to register a visitor, to turn on the lights and so on. So yeah, thanks for this feedback.
I can see that Amber is commenting on this question, so maybe she has additional ones as well.
I see here a comment in the chat in the meantime about canceling or setting up discounts for 100% discount or manual. This from Tom. Indeed, currently it is a manual operation. There are ways perhaps to do that through an additional members and memberships import, which will update the current memberships. So if you need to talk about that and need additional information, you can reach out to the support and they will give you more answers on that. But there are ways to, if you want to cancel the memberships or give discount on the membership level to all your members in the space, perhaps such an updated import would be more easy to do than going through hundreds of memberships if this is the case. It really depends. So if you need more information, just reach out to us later on.
We have a question here that just appeared from Claudius. Are there alternative ways to check into the app or the members portal?
To check in?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there is an option on the member portal at the top right to check in and check out. There are options to automate check-in and check-out with Wi-Fi integration. We have an integration with Iron Wi-Fi, for instance. So there are ways to check in and check out.
Okay. Let's take a last question.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the last one that came from Amir. Is it straightforward to switch to new app? Is there any requirements to fulfill?
It depends. If you're using the white label app right now and you need to switch to the new mobile app version, reach out to the support and request that because there are a few more things, few more steps that need to be taken in order to update your current mobile app. If you're using the OfficeRnD Connect mobile app, which is the default mobile app right now, if you download it, it is with the updated version.
Okay, so I think we should call it a day. Thanks again, everyone. It was a pleasure. I really hope that it was helpful and you enjoyed the webinar. Thanks a lot, Mira, for the presentation and for the information that you provided. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. If you have any feedback, would like to share ideas or comments, you have my email from the invitations. Write me back. I'll be happy to answer, and I'm open for more discussions. If you have questions which are strictly related to the functionalities of OfficeRnD, maybe support@OfficeRnD.com is the best place to address your questions. And yeah, thanks, and I hope to see you on our next webinar, which will be probably within a month or so. Yeah, have a nice day, everyone. Be safe, take care, and hope for the best in the near future.
Bye, everyone.